Dear students, last week India was devastated by a super cyclone known as Amphan. I am sure all of you must have watched the TV news as well as must have read in the newspapers that the state of West Bengal and Odisha were badly hurt by this super cyclone. There was a huge loss of men and material due to this cyclone. Today we will talk in detail about the cause of this cyclone, the way it moved, and the areas which it impacted, and then how to mitigate and take some precautions so that the damage can be reduced whenever a cyclone strikes our mainland. The landfall of the cyclone was around May 16th, though it continued for a couple of days. So today we are talking in detail about Amphan, the super cyclone. The question arises that on what basis we get the name Amphan. This word Amphan, pronounced as Amphan, originates from Thai, that's from Thailand, and means sky. The name was suggested by Thailand back in 2004. The names are chosen from a list of a host of member countries, part of the World Meteorological Organization, popularly known as WMO. In your junior classes and in my previous lessons, I had introduced the term meteorology, that is nothing but the study of weather and climate. WMO is a specialized agency within the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, SCAP. So I'm sure you must be now clear about the word Ampan, which is a Thai word and which means sky. It was a very bad feeling when we saw all these pictures on our national TV hookup and in the newspapers. People literally lost lives. They had huge damage to their properties. You can see how the entire house, the entire shelter has been broken down due to cyclone. Some of these pictures keeps you speechless. So it struck the countries of India and Bangladesh, and even Bhutan was also partly affected by it. I'll give you briefly some basic data about super cyclonic storm before talking in detail about it. Amphan was near its peak intensity over Bay of Bengal on May 18. That was the most devastating day. It was formed on 16th May 2020 and it dissipated, that means it was over. Ultimately, its impact was dissipated on 21st of May 2020. The highest wind speed which it had for a 3 minutes sustained, that means it carried on for at least 3 minutes, was 240 km per hour. That's huge. And in some time, it even attained the speed of 260 km per hour. You must have idea about the normal wind speed which we experience. In summers, the wind speed or wind velocity is higher because of low atmospheric pressure. But normally we had around 7 to 8 km per hour speed. And imagine now, if something strikes you with a speed of 260 km per hour, that could be really, really devastating. The lowest pressure it had was 925 millibar. I hope you know that the normal pressure at seashore is usually 760 millimeter, but in this case it was 925 millibar. Almost 118 people died, that's the official figure, and the total damage was to the tune of $13.35 billion US dollar. and thus it was the costliest on record in the Indian Ocean. This was the costliest or the most damaging cyclone in Indian Ocean. The countries it affected were Sri Lanka and India. It affected mostly the Andaman Islands, the Odisha, the West Bengal, and then the other two countries where the impact was there were Bangladesh and Bhutan. Oh, these were again some more pictures. You could see how the entire bus from West Bengal government in Kolkata was broken down because of the falling of a tree. One of the major cause of damage is the falling of these trees. In fact, Kolkata lost some of its old heritage trees. There's a very famous zoological garden there, and there's a huge damage. In the lower picture, you can see how the people from National NDRF are helping the people. Super cyclone Amphan was a very powerful and deadly tropical cyclone that caused widespread damage in East India and Bangladesh in May 2020. Now, tropical cyclones are the cyclones which originate in tropical areas, especially during summers. These cyclones originate in these months. This is a typical season of tropical cyclones in India or in northern hemisphere, because this is the time when we find that the sun's overhead position starts shifting from equator to Tropic of Cancer. All of you know that India will experience summer solstice on 21st of June, and the sun will be overhead in areas between equator and Tropic of Cancer. So due to high intensity of temperature, the atmospheric pressure starts getting less. You already studied about atmospheric pressure. So when there will be low atmospheric pressure, the wind velocity will be very high. So what happens is the wind starts converging from all the directions, especially from the areas of high atmospheric pressure to the areas of low atmospheric pressure. And as I told you, the center of low atmospheric pressure is over Bay of Bengal, and it moves towards northwest India in summers. And that is why we find that Bay of Bengal usually is a place where lots of these tropical cyclones originate. And they usually impact the eastern coast of India. So there is a widespread damage in East India and Bangladesh. It was the strongest tropical cyclone to strike the Ganges Delta since 2007, and the first super cyclone to occur in the Bay of Bengal since 1919, when we had the Odisha cyclone. Yesterday, I had posted a National Geographic documentary on Cyclone Fani, which affected Odisha. I am sure many of you must have watched that beautiful documentary prepared by National Geographic. So total damage it caused estimated is 13 billion US dollar, which is huge. So that's why it's one of the costliest cyclone which was ever recorded in the North Indian Ocean, and even it surpassed the record which was earlier held by Cyclone Nargis in 2008. Oh, these are the satellite pictures of the cyclone. You can see that how the eye of the cyclone, you can see this is the eye of the cyclone, is moving towards eastern coast of India. The first tropical cyclone of the 2020 in the North Indian Ocean, that is Amphan, originated from a low pressure area persisting a couple of hundred miles or approximately 300 kilometers east of Colombo in Sri Lanka on 13th of May. That was the day of starting. Tracking northeastward, the disturbance organized over exceptionally warm sea surface temperatures. I just now told you that due to high temperature in tropics, the sea surface temperature goes up, and that causes the winds to start converging. There is the Joint Typhoon Warning Center known as JTWC, Now this is a joint typhoon warning center managed by US Air Force Command, and the headquarters is at Pearl Harbor at Hawaii Islands. So they are the ones who started tracking this cyclone, and they then collaborated with IMD, that is Indian Meteorological Department, and thus they started forecasting about the cyclone. We are very fortunate that we have got early warning system of cyclones, and here various countries of the world collaborate with each other to help the countries, and that is why we could start preparing for the safety measures from this Amphan cyclone. On May 17th, this cyclone underwent rapid intensification. That is, with rapid means very fast. Intensification means when the impact or when the speed or the wind velocity goes very high. There is a sudden spurt in the wind speed, and ultimately it was announced that it is a super cyclone. On 18th of May, approximately at 5:30 p.m. IST, Amphan reached its peak intensity with 3 minutes sustained wind speed of 240 km per hour. That is, continuously the wind speed is maintained for 240 kilometers per hour, and then for 1 minute sustained wind speed of 260 km per hour, and the minimum atmospheric pressure was 925 millibar. As I told you, the normal atmospheric pressure at sea level is usually 760 millimeters. The storm began an eyeball replacement cycle. That means it starts moving in a circle along the center of the cyclone. Center of the cyclone is known as eye, and that is the place which has got maximum damage. So when it starts moving like a concentric layers, I've used this word when I was teaching you about the Earth's atmosphere, that we have concentric layers around the Earth. So similarly here also we find that the wind starts moving in a concentric manner and the intensity increases. But the continued effects of dry air and wind shear is when there is a sudden increase in the wind velocity, disrupted this process and caused Amphan to gradually weaken. That was a positive aspect of the cyclone, that is actually weakened before striking or before having a landfall over Indian coast. On May 20th, between 10 to 11 UTC, that is a substitute for GMT. You know what is GMT? Greenwich Mean Time. That is the time of when the sun is overhead over 0° longitude, right? That is in India, according to IST, it will be around 4:30 p.m. Sorry. The cyclone made landfall in West Bengal. So around 4:30 p.m. the cyclone reached West Bengal. Before that, it has reached the coast of Odisha. But fortunately, the impact was comparatively lower in Odisha. Only in some districts of eastern Odisha there was damage. At the time, the JTWC estimated Amphan's 1 minute sustained winds to be 155 km per hour. That is a huge speed, but it rapidly weakened once inland, because once the cyclone strikes the coast, due to the presence of trees and buildings and other infrastructure, the wind velocity sometimes decreases, and this happened with this cyclone also. And ultimately we found that the impact of the cyclone started withdrawing, and by 21st of May it was almost over. This is the track of Amphan's path, or Amphan cyclone. You can see how it started from to the west of Colombo and ultimately moves towards northeast. You can see the wind velocity in the direction with which it moved. It actually struck the Sundarban Delta area, right? And the scientist, the meteorologist, even gave us the projected path, which helped the administrators to plan in advance so that the damage could be minimized. And in spite of so much of preparations, we had around 118 casualties, which is huge. It struck the coastal areas in Odisha as well as Kolkata, Hooghly districts, Howrah districts, East Midnapur districts, North 24 Parganas and South 24 Parganas in West Bengal. It also had a significant destruction in Bangladesh. Now, this is a common information that during these seasons in the Indian Ocean north of the equator, tropical cyclones originate, and we have this throughout the year, sometimes towards Bay of Bengal, sometimes towards Arabian Sea side. On the eastern side in the Arabian Sea also we have such cyclones, but the number of cyclones in Arabian Sea are quite few. The Bay of Bengal, which is located in the northeast of Indian Ocean, is responsible for the formation of some of the strongest and deadliest tropical cyclones in the world. The basin Bay of Bengal, which is also abbreviated as BOB by the IMD, that is Indian Meteorological Department, the official regional specialized meteorological center of the basin, of this Bay of Bengal basin, right? The Bay of Bengal's coast is shared by countries like India, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Sri Lanka and western part of Thailand. So all these countries can be impacted by such tropical cyclones. Some years back in Odisha we had the Fani cyclone, which was quite destructive. On the other hand, the Arabian Sea is a sea located in the northwest of Indian Ocean, and this coast is shared by countries like India, Yemen, Oman, UAE, Iran, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Maldives and Somalia. And usually you find that the monsoon winds, which are the seasonal winds carrying moisture to Indian subcontinent, it strikes from southwest, and then it also brings some cyclonic impact, especially in the pre-monsoon days. But during the days, this area is actually an area of high pressure, so it does not have too many cyclones. So being a geography student, you should know that why most of these cyclones strike during summers. You can see in the picture some of the people from National Disaster Response Force, popularly known as NDRF, are they're giving warning signals to the local population, especially along the coastal areas. Now I'm sure in the last couple of days in the news you must have heard about the Yeoman Service, huge sacrifices by the people of NDRF, also known as National Disaster Response Force. Now this is a force, NDRF, which came into existence to take care of all the disasters which the country faces. These are the people who have been specially trained to take care of the areas once a disaster, which could be a landslide, could be an earthquake, could be a cyclone, could be floods. So in all these disasters, this type of and even if there is a gas leakage, may not be a natural disaster, it could be a man-made disaster. Like some days back there was a chemical gas which was they are released in the atmosphere at Vishakhapatnam, and all these people from NDRF, they rush to those areas and they are trained people, and they help the local population to safeguard themselves and save the properties as well as the human life. And during cyclone Amphan, almost 21 NDRF teams were deployed in West Bengal and Odisha, and they did a commendable job. Oh, some of the pictures of this cyclone. I'm sure West Bengal was never prepared for such a huge devastation. You can see in this picture how the aeroplanes at Netaji Subhas International Stadium at Kolkata are all submerged in water. Even their hangars are the places where aircrafts are kept, even they were inundated. You can see that they're all flooded, and there was a huge loss to these aeroplanes. I don't know how many days people will take to resume air services at Kolkata airport. Let us hope that they resume as early as possible. There was a there was a total failure of communication in these areas due to this cyclone. You could see that in West Bengal, almost 1400 167 telecom places, sites, they were non-operational. In Odisha also, the entire BSNL network, that is Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited, it was all devastated. Similarly, it was out of order in Kolkata. Even some of the private operators like Airtel and Vodafone also were badly damaged. Jio was badly damaged in North and South 24 Praganas, right? And the telecom secretary Mr. Anshu Prakash also hold various meetings, because it is very important that we reinstate the damaged communication system, because during these hours of crisis a good communication can save many lives. So Amphan is the strongest cyclone ever over Bay of Bengal, and we were already under pressure due to the ongoing COVID pandemic in the country, and at the top of that, we could see that people from West Bengal and Odisha also suffer due to Amphan. It's a $1 million question. Will we get a break from these devastating experiences? I'm sure you must have understood the key idea about Amphan. As a class project, I want you to go through the internet sites and make a small project or a big poster on cyclone Amphan, which can be used for your classroom notice boards. Thank you so much.